Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly painting webinar. We're here every single week, and we want to commend you for also showing up and doing this. It's super important. Week 16. Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm great. I was taking a drink of water.
I'm so sorry. I almost...
No, it's good. Taking a drink of water out of my reusable, let's see. What is it called? Oh, I think Swell, my reusable
Oh, well, yeah.
container.
Fantastic and amazing, and I'm so happy you are here. And today is Friday, April 23rd. It's no, it's not the last Friday of April, but this is going too fast. But anyhow, collection number 16: toasters, Kamala Harris pillows, clouds, clowns, self-portraits, and American skin and first dogs. Oxen portraitos, swallows, still lifes with flowers, posing painters paintings, liquid gold, and pullover. How about that? Some of you guys have done every single one of them. And if you haven't, we have them all on our website, so you can just boop boop and play, and you'll be able to join the collection. So DROUGHT, really quickly, I know we started a little bit late, but I just wanted to share. Let me see if I can have this. Hold on one second, because Instagram doesn't want to work with us anymore. So I don't know what's going on, but I think Jen will have to find another platform, because they keep dropping the sound.
So weird.
Yeah.
That's I mean, what?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I sent a note, and uh, it seems like it doesn't happen to anyone else. So
Hmm.
I don't know. But anyhow, so really quickly, and if you want, you can start like sketching, but we found some images of paintings of droughts. Amazingly and interestingly enough, all the artists that we found are from Australia, and there's no there wasn't like a place where it says artists from Australia and then we got all the paintings. We researched paintings based on drought, and all the paintings we selected are by artists from Australia. So notice the color palette. I think that's very important. We wanted to talk about this yesterday, but we didn't. So notice the color palette, warm. I love this painting. The fact, this reminds me of what we did in Palm Springs. The mountain in the back almost like fades with the sky. So notice this amazing visual plane right here. I forgot to put the dates, but I have some here. This is by Kevin John Best, and self-taught artist. And this is Kevin Charles Hart. Anyhow, so color palette, very interesting. Love this painting, Patrick Carroll. This is acrylic, but there's a lot of abstraction, and notice that there's very narrow sky. We're so happy to just have discovered this amazing Australian artist, contemporary Jenny Watson. If you get a chance, either now or later or whenever, just check her work online, because she is absolutely amazing. And this is titled Gulliver's Drought. So we love the whimsy of it. Reminds us of Gertrude. Uh, what's the Gertrude Abercrombie? Right. Yeah, Gertrude Abercrombie. So it has like very similar style. Different color palette, but I love this painting so much. And yeah, this is Paul Feck. We used it for to observe Earth Day. Today is World Book Day, and uh, my gosh, my mind, the portraits that we did at Stalking Horse of Shakespeare. Oh,
Shakespeare.
Jesus. Today's his
He's not very well known, Julio.
Oh my
He did,
God.
but it also doesn't roll off the tongue.
Right. No, my brain is fried, I guess. But yeah, today's his birthday and it's also World Book Day. And it's not fair that it's back to back Earth Day and World Book Day. It's just too much. And but I think no one cares about World Book Day anymore. So it's just, it's just grounded or buried. But it used to be really important. Anyhow, so really quickly, those are the examples. You have the folder if you want to entertain some time looking at the styles, but I'm just going to go ahead and dive in really quickly. I, as usual, as per usual, whatever that is, what I did was to input, I used like a random number generator. I'm a fan of like random number generators. And this is the image that came up. So I'm going to do that. Format first, 12 by 16. I'm using it because it's a little bit bigger for the cameras, but if you have smaller, it may be better. It just depends on how much time you want to invest. We paint on these paintings for 4 days, actually. One, two, yeah, 5 sessions. We calculate it, and then we invest a long time. So it makes sense for us because with this format, it helps to have extra time. But if you don't have time at all, then you may want to consider doing something small. I got this pad of a polymer-based surface. I'm not like entirely sure now why I got it, but it's called Yupo, Y-U-P-O, and it's polypropylene. So they're kind of like translucent and they're super amazing. They're non-porous. And I was told these are great for oil. So, and I'm not sure because it's plastic. So that is not very environmentally friendly, but I just brought them because this is a good size also. And this is 4x6, I believe, 5x7. So whichever size, but consider the time that you're going to invest. And so the shape is rectangular and the orientation is a landscape. So again, the three things: size, shape, orientation. And I'm using cotton paper, which is a wonderful painting surface. I was able to do the copy and I have to decide how I'm going to align it. And based on some of the images of paintings, I think I'm just going to align it to the top because I like the fact that some of the images have like more ground and less sky. So I think that's going to be my take. All right, so I think because this is a landscape, we can simplify things. Visual planes, open space requires us to think about what areas are flat, what areas are negative space. Is there anything that it's upright? So try to analyze, I think that would be the best word, analyze the different components in your image. Don't just kind of like throw yourself into the process of sketching, because I feel it's important to take things apart, to literally take things apart. So in this case, I have a very strong horizon line that separates what's ground from what's sky, so nothing interrupts it, and I don't have anything that is upright anywhere right here. So I have a little bit of remaining water. The body of water got completely dry, so I have dry land on one side and dry land on another side. So that's going to be important. The sky is cloudy and I see the sun right here and it's reflecting in this direction. So there is a light direction on the body of water. So I have to consider which are going to be my focal points. So definitely one of the main focal points I think on this will be the actual remaining water left on this plane. Another focal point obviously will be the texture, and I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but I'm going to find out when I start working. I'm not worried about it now. I just see that there's rhythm from larger pieces to barely visible. And perhaps my third focal point, I'm just going to dedicate it to the sky. So as we know, the two most important principles in composition, the ones that we consider the most important focal points, advised to do three or less. Be careful. We talked about this last week. We got so excited about the amazing paintings of the pullover collection that I feel like as the week went by, some of us were considering to add on additional features. And we made it work, but we were a little bit concerned about that diluting the message. So speaking of message, let's just talk about composition. I think that's very important. The most important compositional principles, two focal points. Determine now, in a broad manner, if you will, how are you going to prioritize your focal points on this painting composition, even if you change your mind, even if it doesn't work later. But it's important to, again, take things apart and then have a strategy. So literally number them, 1, 2, 3, literally just make a language connection, articulate them. This is going to be my first, my second, my third, or these are going to be my three in equal importance. But determine if you want additional focal points, also reflect a little bit on how you're going to treat them. But yeah, I think it's an important step to organize, prioritize your focal points. In my case, movement, compositional movement, which is the space that I'm going to leave around the focal points. Here it applies differently because there's a horizon line and then things are essentially cropped. So I don't have any objects or physical elements that are getting dangerously close to the edges. And we had a beautiful example last night actually on how much of a difference it makes when you pull physical objects away from the edge, and how much better, if I can use this word, the painting is. So with a still life that we did last night. So anyhow, in this case, I don't have to worry about that. So I just want to make sure that things will get heavily cropped. So I think movement wise, that's going to be my consideration. And I think that's it. Very important. 2 weeks ago, we started saying the concept is the point. The craft is not important. The concept is the point. And over the following few days, we realized that the idea of concept connects with the idea of a story. We're telling a story. I mean, art is not just about storytelling, obviously, but it could be. And in our case, I feel like because we use representational elements and we have a little bit of a conceptual discussion about why we're doing this, there is a message, there is content. And so the point is the message, the point is the story. I'm saying this because consider, what do you want to say with this painting? Because at the end of the day, or the bottom line is that if we get too caught up with the technical issues, the rendering, the likeness, the planes, the color matching, and all that stuff, we may get distracted and drifting away from what's the point. And the point is what we want to say with this painting. So I think I'm gonna give you an example of how I'm going to articulate this. To me, the point here is to show how a landscape has been affected by the drought, obviously, and the remaining, I think the point for me, it's like the remaining of what it used to be there, but it's almost gone. So I think I'm going to make an emphasis on putting some attention to this area. So I also feel like this is a very moody image. I feel like this almost feels like an extraterrestrial landscape. So perhaps the message here will be, you know, this water crisis can devastate ecosystems so much that it makes them uninhabitable. So maybe that's what I'm trying to convey with this. Not only encapsulate a moment in time today, April 2021, and what's coming this summer, but at the same time, just drive the message that this could be, you know, an uninhabitable place, and it's already happening. So in broad strokes, I think that would be my message, my point, my story, what is really the point of what we're doing. And after that mini TED talk, I don't know, I'm just going to go ahead and start with what anchors the composition, the split or separation between ground and sky. And that is the horizon line. So I'm just gonna go that. This is gonna be a little bit easier to, I hope, to sketch. I have the horizon line, and then I'm just gonna look at the planes or the surface. Obviously, there is a diagonal line right here. It's a stream of water, follows a diagonal. I think that's gonna be very important. So a diagonal line. So that's gonna be it. That's gonna be the water. It's gonna be right here, more or less. Okay, just making this already. And I think that's it for, I'm not gonna do the lines. I consider this texture, so we'll see how this unfolds later. But that's not going to be um, important to draw right now with my sketch. My croc is my draft, so it's not about details or fine details. So I'm just going to, I see something right there. So the landscape, there's a darker area. It just feels like that's grass. So obviously that will be important. The density of detail here. And this becomes finer. So I see quality of line on the horizon line. It's not even just with empty space, especially this, the nuance between qualities of edges or lines or colors is extremely important. So calibrate your RoboCop eye to the point where you can distinct or create a distinction between different aspects of what you're seeing. It's going to take some time, but it's not just a line or a horizon line or a color. We're going to have to make an effort to see beyond what's predictable or evident and then come up with that variation. So I think that's what I see. I see a ship, which is very interesting. And I think I'm just going to do it because it looks like the ship is on dry land. So perhaps that's something that I will exaggerate. And then there is a little bit of land on the other side. So, yep, I think that's going to be an interesting, fun take. All right, I'm just going to dedicate some time now with for the sky. The light direction right here. And then the clouds, the cloud system. I'm gonna see how it's organized. It looks like, I don't know, it looks like is it raining? No, it's not. It's just like heavy clouds. That's a very interesting image, actually. This always surprises me. I see the images that we curated. I'm like, oh, I have my favorites. I like this one. I like that one. So this wasn't my favorite. The random number generator always makes me mad. Like, no, I just wanted that one. It's so silly because I should have just choose the one I like. But every time I get an image that at first I didn't like, I realized that it's so amazing, that element of surprise keeps me coming back for the same system. Uh, at first, I'm like, oh, no, this one is boring or predictable or blah, 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 blah. But then when I start applying the same principles that we apply everywhere to that image, um, it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. So this, it's not an exception. I just feel like now I see this amazing sky, and I realize that, this is a really beautiful image. Okay, so on Tuesday, we talked about a very important concept that I feel we need to start bringing up, the concept of visualization. And it's a good concept to pair with the idea of observation. What we do, if we had to categorize ourselves, we are um, process artists. It just took me a while to get, because some people started mentioning this, and I had no idea what a process artist was. A process artist is an artist that follows a process. I guess it's the opposite of a conceptual artist. Conceptual artist, process artist. I guess you could categorize it this way. Um, yeah, and I don't know where I was going with that. So yeah, I think I just need to drink something to make that connection. Um, yeah, I totally lost my train of thought. Yeah, we are process artists, and then what else? Oh yeah, the concept of visualization and observation. Yes. So process artists as one category, and then we use observation in order to create our pieces. Um, observation relies on a source. Observation relies on a source. So we are process artists that rely on a source in order to create a visual effect. And that could be a very narrow niche, if you will, of painting. Um, so there's another aspect or categorization. And I like to also say that we are fungible artists, because now this word just entered the vernacular of art, this non-fungible um, things with the NFT nonsense. Sorry, it's nonsense. And every day that passes by, I see that it's more nonsense, but maybe not, maybe not. But NFT stands for non-fungible non-fungible tokens. Yeah, so which non-fungible means that they're essentially they're not, we cannot physically trade them. A fungible token, an example of a fungible token is a note bill currency. And non-fungible means that it doesn't have palpable exchange value. It has value, but it's not like gold or currency. So it's physical versus virtual. So I love the word fungible. It reminds me of like mushrooms for some reason. So we are fungible creators. We make stuff that exists in our real life. So yeah, that's a different category. But anyhow, the whole point is about describing visualization, because we can also create things that are not based on observation. They're based on visualization. And what is visualization? Visualization is when you create the space or the reality in your mind. You don't have it as a source in front of us. We don't have it. So sometimes we exercise visualization by removing elements from the landscape, adding things to the landscape. And if you backtrack and see examples of paintings by some of us in the past, you'll see how many of us use visualization. All of us use it in one way or another. I think the best visualizators I don't know, we're creating new words. Dina used to be a great she used to be great in visualizing things, creating new spaces, new light. Um, Claire also loved to visualize stuff on her paintings and add it on. So visualizing is also a skill. And I feel like we need to start talking more about visualization and how we can use that skill to elevate our observational process. So in other words, if there's anything on your landscape that you want to alter, exaggerate, remove, or even add, be mindful but considerate, because it's important to know that in our toolbox we can use visualization to create something new without a source. It's not easy. The best, I think the best, I think abstraction, it's a great vehicle to practice visualization, because you have to create a space or something without an image reference. So anyhow, just gonna do this. Maybe I'll just shade a little bit. Yeah, let's just shade a little bit. Actually, I just want to follow. It looks like a river bed, or maybe it's even a lake. Who knows? Most certainly a lake. I have no idea. I haven't run this on a Google search or TinyEye. By the way, we're using, in order to find sources of images or to find, different examples. Google is one viable source, obviously, but there's this website. It's called TinyEye, altogether, tinyeye.com, and it has a better filtering system. Sometimes we use that. We upload an image, and the website finds um, the sources of the digital sources of the image. For example, when was the first time the image was posted? Which file is the largest? That Google may be able to do it. But what's interesting about TinyEye is that sometimes I can use this image, for example. I upload it in TinyEye, and then it just pulls all the blogs, articles, websites, online references that use this as an illustration. And when you have everything listed, some of these articles precisely point at the exact location of that, or the exact title of a painting, or where the painting is hanging right now, or the biography of the artist. So it's a really, really helpful. We use it as much as Google Image, tinyeye.com. Just because sometimes you see a painting, you don't know the artist, and then you may not find anything on Google Images because they're all Pinterest boards, and they're none of them, they're been sort of like passed on and on to other Pinterest users, and no one is adding any information to that image. Just try TinyEye. And I need to run this. Maybe Jen, if you can help me. I don't know if you can do like run this image and see what this location, where this location may be. Maybe on Google Image or even TinyEye.
Sure. I'll try it out.
Okay, thanks. All right, perfect timing. Just like a 25 minutes. I'm really happy. This is going to be such a wonderful variation from last week. We're going from streetscape rather. We're going from streetscape to open space. It's just so perfect. And what I'm gonna do, which I didn't have time, and while you guys maybe are already doing, I'm just gonna set up my palette. How is that? So I am just going to, and I found this in an article, but it didn't say the location. It just mentioned watch. This is going to be probably, I don't know, Utah or something, which is still the Southwest, correct? Yeah, I think so. Um, so I'm just going to do the whites really quickly. I love having a fresh palette. Oh my gosh. Yes. I work on the palette for an entire week. And yesterday, everything was crusty last night. So I kept poking the dry skins of the paint clumps to get something out of them. But you know what? That also creates a different kind of like painting. So chromatic black, we were just talking about how amazing it is last night. Um, and so I know that it's back ordered, and so yeah, if you can get your hands on it, it's a great black to have. And let me just do the neutrals, and we'll see how this is gonna go, because it's gonna be a very interesting palette. And really quickly, and I also, I don't know if that's gonna be possible, but so there's a video on YouTube. Let me see, I'll find it. I should have done this homework myself, because it's just gonna be, I don't know how that's gonna work. Maybe it's written or it's on the screen. Okay, so staple palette, I'm not adding anything else. I got it. I'm gonna get the big brush. I have my liquids. And big brush, here we go. Oops. I don't know who that person is, but sorry. Someone's calling. Color palette. Ooh, I think I'm just gonna, I'm excited. I'm already super excited because I'm gonna use a color that it's the color that we use the least. And it happens to be the color that now everyone raves about, or close to that. I'm gonna use yellow ochre to stain this. Sky and land, yellow ochre. Yeah, there we go. So I think I'm excited about that. Yellow ochre with some turpentine. And oh, yo, what's going on? Yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna do a mess right now. I'm gonna do a big mess. My liquids are a mess. I think they're the same liquids from Tuesday, Jen. So
you should do a painting of your palette. That would be a into itself.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great idea for a project, actually, for a collection.
It would be cool, like if you let your palette sit out for a while. How beautiful!
Yeah. Oh, okay, we're doing it.
Okay, I have very conflicting results.
You're so polite.
One is California or New Mexico, and the other, wait for it, is France.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay, I'll take that. I think that's good. So, wow. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know what to say, but I'll take it.
It was fun, honestly. So I'm a first-time Tiny Eye user, and you guys, it was super easy to use. Yeah, and it was fascinating. This one I think is a little tough because it's definitely a stock photo, and so it just gave me like a bunch of different places where the photo was.
Okay.
And
makes sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, all the places a stock photo was just credited it as a stock photo. So then I went into the articles, and one of them, like I said California, New Mexico, and then when I searched a little further with Getty Images, it said location France. So
Oh, wow. Well, Getty Images, it's pretty reputable. So
mhm, yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for checking. Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
I use it all the time, and then sometimes it's really helpful just because it just gives you context and more information. It's not always spot on because there are some images that the website doesn't recognize. But with painting and art history, it does a really good job at finding um, the the source. So I'm doing first notes. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm doing staining, color fields, perfect example. Here, using liquid. The function is to prime the paper, the surface, painting surface, paper in my case, seal the charcoal. Color fields, meaning like unrestricted, non-compartmentalized. Use the big brush, and yeah, it's a very technical step. I'm already loving it so much. I think that looks really good. So I use the rag to build or to carve some highlights. Yeah, I think that's good. I'm excited. It makes me excited that this is going well. And yeah. And the minute that I put this, I already noticed that there's so much pink and salmon here, and gorgeous taupe colors. So I thought yellow ochre, that would be it. But now I see how sophisticated the color palette is. So that makes me excited because since I have simplicity of planes and uh, openness, I will have more of an opportunity to work with color, but never um, step away or walk away from what is that you're trying to say with your painting, because I think it's important to always gravitate around the story, the concept, which in my mind I consider both similar, and which I consider the point of what we're doing, the message, what we're trying to say. um, and yeah, so I'm done with the wash essentially. I was gonna, thanks Jen for that. And I was gonna tell you, I mean, I know that this may be super confusing, and by all means, if it's a distraction, I wouldn't want you to do it. But I've been mentioning the past few days this YouTube video that I found from this, and he's kind of cute. Let me see if I can find. He's a painter. He's not really good. Sorry, I'm being so shampoo set, as Keon would say. Gossipy. Um, I'm realizing that that's not an appropriate
I
term.
was just about to. I was literally just thinking that. Wait a second, Julio. We say this, and it's so misogynistic.
Yes. So I'm
That was
blushing right
really
now.
harsh, though. Misogynistic is a super harsh word for that.
You're
But
right.
honestly, you and I say it all the time, and we giggle about it. And then this one time, I was like, "Wait, what are we saying?"
Right. Banned. That's it.
And that's it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, these new things. I told you that recently, like that we stopped saying SOB, like some of
Right.
the fish, like that. Nope, not saying that anymore.
Right.
That banned. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. That's what it's all about. We need to,
We are learning
yes.
constantly. I'm right there with you, Julio.
Oh my gosh.
Constantly.
Um, let me see. I'm not gonna take I'm gonna take 30 more seconds, but um let me see if I have so it's I think he's from Europe, I believe. He is an artist that does a lot of tutorials on YouTube, and the video is the 10 things he wishes he would know. It's a listicle, the 10 things he wishes he would know about oil painting.
Hmm.
I can find it, so I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I'll look for it.
I think he's
Europe.
French.
Okay, French painter, 10 things. Okay,
Okay, let me know. So
sure.
and you know it's sort of like a long video, so I don't know if you want to, if it's possible to scroll and see if there are any words, because I don't want you to watch the whole thing and then it's just, you know, too long. um, well, see how it goes, but yeah, if it's I remember that I remember a few. They're all excellent, and all of them, absolutely all of them, are things that we have talked about, and we are continuing to talk about. So it's nice to find a voice saying the same things with different words. So I'm gonna go for first notes in the meantime, um, and yeah, so I'm just gonna change the size of the brush, and size of the brush. Yeah, so I try to, uh, yeah, I try to watch. Uh, we try to get abreast. I think that's the expression, get abreast of things, painting, related to painting. We always try to uh, learn and be on top of things. So, you know, so one of the things that I do is I watch YouTube videos, essentially um, by other art instructors, and also painters. And I take, whoopsie, I take what I need from them. Uh, so I don't even know what this is, but yeah. So medium brush, let me see if I can find another medium brush. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do first notes. And in the meantime, I'll explain what first notes are, because I feel like here, or at least to us, it's gonna be really important. Um, First notes, the word that we try to associate with, yes, thanks, Lois. Yes, yes, stay abreast. Yes. So that's what we try to do um, when we're not painting or just so organizing things. So yeah, because, you know, knowledge is something that we actually talked about it in our Clubhouse conversation yesterday. Chloe and Dan stayed behind, and we were just talking about how education cannot be encapsulated. In other words, you cannot go to either art school or even med school or any kind of field and pretend that in 4 years or whatever amount of time, then it's over and then you're done. So it's an ongoing thing, and you always have to make sure that you stay, as you said, abreast. Um, stay. Okay, I just saw that on the chat, Lois. That is hilarious. Trust me, it's not gonna happen. Human or non-human, let's just say that. But that's so funny. Anyhow, so thanks for the laugh. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Anyhow, so yeah, education, it's ongoing and fluid, and it doesn't stop at one point. It's just an ongoing journey. So I feel like it's important to be open-minded. So first notes, color blocking, staining, color fields, first notes, color blocking. this is our choice of words. It's not like it's on a book. And the reason why we choose these words, it's because there's a distinction between color blocking, which is a little bit more concentrated into a shape. And it also, the idea of blocking, it doesn't only refer to an actual block, but it actually refers to covering in a way. So we feel like it's appropriate to associate first notes with color blocking, um, in distinction of color fields, which is sort of like more open and loose. So another thing that happens during first notes, and yeah, oh, perfect, you found it. Okay, thank you. And I can say he's kind of cute, right? That could be said. I don't even know now anymore, but yeah, he's kind of cute.
Yes, he's cute.
Okay.
You can say that, and I agree.
Okay.
I'm watching, I already have one. Surface is fundamental. And he's talking about, that now he knows he needs to gesso his canvas.
Yeah, because the pre gesso canvas is crap. Essentially, he had difficulties, and that made me feel so good because I tend to say that my least favorite surface is canvas, and I should say that it's just pre-prepped canvas, because it's just the pockets, it's just a mess. So he wishes he would know that before. Right. The second thing that I was going to say in regards to color blocking is that this is an opportunity to study the color. Because I used yellow ochre and it has nothing to do with the landscape, I'm gonna take some time to mix stuff and see what kind of combination of tones or of like colors would give me something like this. I don't know, so I'm just gonna check. My guess is that after doing the wash, perhaps I'll need a little bit of the yellow ochre and burnt sienna because it's a little warmer. So I'm mixing those two and I'm gonna put them. Okay, okay, that's not too bad. Actually, I think value-wise, this could work. This could work. Value-wise, this could work. I'm gonna try it here. Maybe this could work, but it's very pigmented. There's a lot of color. So I think I'm gonna dilute this with ecru and see if that, okay, I think that is working. I think that's working. I'm gonna bring some raw umber here because I feel like it's still very yellow. And I'll find out if this would give me, ooh, yeah. I think that gives me a really nice clay tone. I think I got it. I think I got it. At least for now, I think I got it. I think I got it. So yeah, so actually the four browns on our palette, or my palette, I should say, it's not just yellow ochre. I need to process color. Remember, what we have on the palette is the raw material. It's not actually the palette, it's the raw material. So we have to create a color palette for our painting. We have to make it. That happens in every single painting we do. We have to make our color palette off of the raw material. So why not take the opportunity and on first notes or during first notes to actually study the color and see how we can process the raw material to get the beginnings of our very unique, one-of-a-kind color palette that's not going to get repeated in any painting whatsoever, even if we painted a billion paintings from now until the end of time. None of them would have the exact same color palette. So first notes to study the color makes sense. And now that I have this, I'm just going to use the medium. And I should probably not do this first because if I go darker to lighter, okay, I'm just gonna do a second color sample with this brown color that I made. and I'm going to do darker to lighter. Okay, let's do that. What's the thing that happens during landscape painting that really um, makes a distinction, how should I say that politely, between very attention grabbing paintings and paintings that feel colorized? It's the intensity of color. We have a tendency of making landscapes extremely pigmented. So much so that I feel like that's the only thing that is visible. So our advice, tone things down. Um, yeah, tone things down color-wise. So I'm just gonna bring this tone, and then I'm doing darker to lighter. First notes, darker to lighter, color blocking. So that's, I'm using a medium brush, not too big, but the idea is to color block. So, and I know pretty much, it doesn't have to match again, but I know pretty much what combination of colors, of paints, will give me something that's gonna be analogous or, yeah, similar. And I feel like that becomes, we didn't used to do this. If you guys have painted with us since the moment we moved from IRL, which I had to learn. I know what it means now, IRL, to online. We made the move from IRL online. So you guys have followed us. IRL in real life. I think that's what it means, because people use IRL all the time. Best IRL events this week. And I'm like, what the heck is that? You know, just I thought it was something online, and precisely, it's not online. We have to, Lois, we have to get abreast of language, because between the fungible and the IRL, you know, there's a risk of like staying behind. We don't want to stay behind. So yeah. So I'm liking it. Yeah, I'm liking it. So it tempers the wash, and I start to create more of a vignette. And I switched because I was doing this area right here, and I want to do darker to lighter. So perhaps I'll just bring, I'm going to bring one of the old hairy guys, a medium old hairy guy. And I'm just going to do the darker element on the horizon. I also wanted to say that one of the notes, we need to compile all this. We have them all. No, never mind. I was going to say that I need to remind myself, this is for me, about all these notes that we keep providing, and they keep changing. Like, for example, try to find the humanity in your practice and avoid becoming a perfectionist. Police, meaning, you know, don't police your work too much from a perfectionist point of view. You know, what helps us is looking at paintings by other artists and seeing how little they cared about accuracy, and how their stronger words are the ones that are the least carefully painted. And that's judgment, obviously, from our perspective. Yeah, I think that worked. Darker to lighter, darker to lighter. Okay, so I'm gonna continue, because I feel like the sky is a different story, but I'm gonna continue just creating more of the paint of the study from the beginning with the 4 browns. because I feel like I still need to do a little bit more coverage. Ooh, that's a little bit too dark. That's okay. I'm still in first notes. It's just thing like okay, so I think that's good. Just continuing with that. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I can see. So it helps to see the painting on the screen actually, because comparing both side by side from a distance, since I cannot step back, it makes a huge difference. So and I need to make more paints. The thing is that with the landscape compared to the streetscape, the streetscape allowed me to have almost like palettes within palettes. I could do the car with a section of the palette, and then I could do the road. But this open space, everything's pretty analogous. So what it means is that I have to bring in more paint. And I need to squeeze more yellow ochre. I need to squeeze more yellow ochre. And here we go. And create more paint. Okay. And I'll continue. Okay, that's good. Yeah, my brush stroke doesn't follow. It sort of like follows a hatching direction, but it's important not to create a very monolithic direction, because if you paint an open space and your brushstroke follows the same direction all the time, you'll create a pattern, and the pattern will come first before the actual color. So it's important to change the direction a little bit as you apply the brushstroke, wiggling or moving the paintbrush in different directions. So you cannot recognize an actual repetition of your brushstroke. I think that's important with open spaces. So just have that in mind. There's a lot of amazing things that happen. Obviously, we know that when painting, and one of them is that it just encourages us to multitask. We have to hold different thoughts at the same time. I am making paint. I am applying it in this place. I have to make sure that the brushstroke may not be excessively recognizable, because otherwise it's going to read like a pattern. All those things are happening at the same time. So okay, so I'm just like continuing, and then I'm still in first notes, and usually I feel like if I look back to different paintings, first notes took me a long time, almost like 15 minutes before the second hour. I felt like I was possibly finished with first notes. I feel the same way. So we're in 1 hour. And by the way, we started 5 minutes after the beginning. So we'll just keep these 5 more minutes. So I feel like that is actually good. So I'm going to dedicate, I think it's going to take me maybe another 15 minutes, who knows, but I'm actually happy about the next step on the painting. So it's just building. As long as it's building, perhaps I'm going to use this. So maybe, Jen, I don't know if you were able to do a quick recap of the points or any points.
I literally just finished.
What do you think? Was it a good video or?
Yeah, I started watching it, and then I was like, okay, I need to fast forward because I need to get these in. But no, I mean, the guy's great. He makes so much sense, and I I loved the list. Do you want me to read it to you?
Yeah, let's do maybe like the first, let's do the first three. How about that?
Okay, the first three. Surface is fundamental, which we already talked about. Let it dry.
I'll explain that.
Mm-hmm. And don't go too fluid.
Okay, perfect. These are great points. I'm going to try to explain them in our own vocabulary, essentially. But yeah, the surface, it's important to consider because he thought painting, canvas, that's it, right? And then he found out that the surface was very rough, not very good, and painting was very frustrating. These are the kind of things that may prevent someone from actually jumping to painting. Not considering or not hearing. And in fact, where do you hear that the surface is important? I mean, this is the first time that I'm hearing it in one of the tutorials, because everyone else, it's sort of like, okay, jump in, sketch, and then do it. And it could be make it or break it. So yeah, find a surface that facilitates the process. And if you use canvas, as we say, gesso it like 4 or 5 times until it's smoother. Um, the second one you said was, I forgot about the second one, Jen.
The second one is let it dry.
Let it dry. Yeah. So one of the things that he also said is that with oil, you essentially do wet on wet. So that's the essence of oil. So wet on wet, especially when you begin. Or a la prima, as we know, this word flies around. Sometimes a la prima means like you finish in one session when the paint is still wet. So he wishes he would have known that sometimes it's a good idea to let the painting dry before you continue, because there are certain areas that may concentrate a little bit more oil than you expected, and they don't allow you to build details or manipulate things the way you want to. I personally feel like over time that becomes less of an issue as a painter. I don't find myself that I have a point in my process where the painting doesn't allow me to continue. I feel like it's sort of like a work in progress, and I feel like it takes time. But the moments where you feel like you have to stop and then let it dry will become less and less frequent as you become more familiar with the medium and the surface and the amount of paint that you put at the beginning, because it's all about preventing areas to become too um, fluid or full of paint. And it's something that the painting teaches you. So you may find this like happening frequently. You get into a point that there's so much paint that you want to let it dry. Um, but it just happens a little bit less frequently. Just because you know that in order to avoid that obstacle or that temporary obstacle, you have to use less paint at the beginning. So it's sort of like a self-regulating thing. The painting itself teaches you, and it takes time and it takes years. And I just don't feel like that's something that it's problematic for me, but sometimes it may happen. So especially when he started doing painting, oil painting, he wishes he would have known that you could leave the painting dry. Even, he says, even for one day could just make a huge difference. One single day, especially with brown tones or tones that don't have, um, what's the metal? Cadmium. You could, next day, you could just paint over it, and even it may not be fully dry, but it allows you to add things on. So he literally says, just work with the paint and then let it dry. Let it dry a few days, a week, whatever, start something else. And then you'll be able to actually start building. And that's the way, like traditionally, the old dudes used to work. The Flemish, we're fascinated with the Flemish Renaissance, and they just did a layer every few months, and they literally let it dry for months before they actually continued. Anyhow, and then other one, the third one, number three, was excessive fluids or using too much either turpentine or a medium, oil or a medium, I should say. So the idea is that I don't know if it's because we may be shy, but if we have if we rely too much on transparency, the painting will never build. and will be stirring pigment on the canvas all the time. So he wishes he would know that at some point you have to consider opacity by making sure you don't use too many liquids. In fact, this is something that actually made a note eh, uh, myself. We don't need to use a lot of liquids. So there's a reason why the tin cups that we have, we're using the giant ones, the ones that we usually have. These are the ones on steroids, because the mutant tin cups, that's the ones we use in our sets. But usually the tin cups are tiny. See, it almost feels counterintuitive to have the actual liquid in a tiny cup. And you're like, you know what? I need liquid. Well, he says that in oil, it's all about opacity. So I like the fact that he brings first the idea of letting it dry, and then the idea of liquids minimizing them, because I feel like that kind of like may be able to go hand in hand in order of things. So surface canvas, pre gesso canvas sucks and makes the painting really bad, honestly. I mean, it's like frosty, and the light, because of the pockets, makes it porous. The colors don't shine. So it's all compiling, yeah, compounding um, list of things that in the end make the painting look really bad, or not as potentially amazing as it should look. So number one, yeah, the letting it dry, and number three, also using minimum liquid amount. Uh, this is something also that will happen over time. And you and I, Jen, have seen people like really almost like inhaling the liquid, using so much
Yep.
that they're like, please, I need a refill.
Yep.
So that just tells you all. I mean, we're being gossipy here, obviously, but that just tells you that over time you learn to use less liquid, um, especially the turpentine. And that's the reason why sometimes I don't change my liquids in a week. I have the same palette and I don't refresh my liquids because I have enough. I just adjust the amount of paint in my brush, and I could just go on for a week with the same amount of liquids. So okay, maybe that's some things we could add on the notes, Jen, as a broad statement.
I have them all on the note.
Okay, perfect. And I think those are really helpful, don't you think?
And yeah, and I have the YouTube link as well on the note.
Okay,
I have it
awesome.
all there.
Cool. So I'm just gonna go ahead and then test. I'm still on first notes, but I'm gonna test the color of the sky, because there is a variation. There is an analogy, but also a variation. So gray and ecru. So it's more, I'm sorry, raw umber. So it's a little bit darker. So when I try to quote unquote match a color, that's a little bit too dark. I try value first. It's more warm. I think there's yellow ochre mixed in here. So I'm studying the color. I'm doing it during first notes. This is the best opportunity to study the color, just because we're associating first notes with color blocking, as we mentioned earlier. So please take the opportunity to start creating the palette that this painting will need. Every painting needs a different color palette. There's not a single painting that replicates the same color palette. None. So I think I got it. So I'm gonna do darker to lighter. And I got a similar, no ecru this time, only the three browns without the ecru, and then some gray. So definitely there is a correlation, but that's how I'm gonna create the palette for the sky for my first notes. And I'm applying it in a color blocking manner, meaning less liquid and more paint and a little bit of medium. I want fluidity here. So just with the oil, it's a balance, because yes, oil, it's about layering opacity, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I don't put myself in a corner because I put so much oil that it's so wet that then I cannot manipulate it easily. So I wouldn't say it's a narrow spectrum, but definitely it's a thoughtful consideration of yes to opacity, but be careful to add too much oil because it may just become so wet, then you won't be able to manipulate it. In our experience, you can always manipulate it. It doesn't matter how much oil you have. You can always find a trick either to wipe it off and then redo it again. But when you reach the moment that it's too wet, so if you wanted to continue, you can. Um, so And who, oh yeah, we were also on Clubhouse, we were having this conversation. I think you guys were there, some of you were there also. Um, Karen is a painter. Sometimes she joins us and then she uses watercolor a lot in her own practice, but she also loves oil. So she was just saying that, she did a painting with oil the other day and she realized how much she misses painting with oil and how amazing it is compared to watercolor. Um, so it was nice to hear from her. She paints a lot. She's very, the word's not productive. What's the word when someone paints a lot? It's not productive. Um,
It's on the tip of my tongue too, Julio.
I don't know.
Oh my
No.
gosh.
Prolific,
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My brain was in the E's, so that would have been a long time to get to the P's.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. No, yeah, so she is, and then she, um, yeah, it was nice to hear. Uh, oh, and something that, in a different, talking about staying abreast of things, I was also listening to very, very, very proficient painter, technique wise, a vast knowledge of materials. I always feel like I'm so jealous. We learn a lot. We've learned a lot in the past 14 months, and we're now quite competent about um, materials. But this artist, I mean, it was just like incredible. And he was saying that someone asked about varnish versus non-varnish, which is the eternal, question. So he was saying that acrylic paint, if you look at acrylic paint, in under a microscope, that's what he said. I've never heard this before and never read this before. It is actually porous. So it may dry with a shine, and it's technically plastic. It's a polymer, but under the microscope, it has a porous surface, at least compared to, for example, oil. So he said that with acrylic, because of that porous surface, the surface of acrylic tends to grab on and hold small particles of dust over time, and it doesn't take a long time. So over time, with certain conditions, especially our homes, because I feel like museums have filtration systems, and of course they control the temperature and stuff like that, but there's no dust in a museum. There's there. In fact, Jen, uh, just being curious, would you just Google about filtration systems in art museums, if that's something that everyone has? But anyhow, so he was saying that it's important for acrylic paint, it's important to varnish in order to make sure that the acrylic surface doesn't, the pores of the surface don't grab on to particles of dust. And then what happens? And you immediately see it. um, it gets frosty. You know, acrylic paint over time, the colors don't have luster just because I thought it was because it's plastic, but it's because of the porous aspect, apparently, of the surface. So he was a proponent of varnishing. I mean, this is the mind of a purist, and I always plant a red flag every time someone shows purist features, I guess, or characteristics, because he says that in oil, he proposed you need to varnish with a permanent varnish first, and then you need to cover the varnish with a non-permanent varnish layer. In other words, you need to varnish the varnish. And I laughed. I thought, oh my gosh, talk about OCD. But he was very specific. You need to protect the varnish with another varnish. I think it's nuts, but scientifically, it made sense because people say that varnishing oil with a permanent varnish, over time, the varnish gets yellowed, and then you're stuck with something that it's really hard to restore. And he was proposing to use a permanent varnish first, and then put a removable one that's UV protective. So then you avoid the permanent varnish to yellow. And in addition to that, the combination of two layers of varnish creates a very eggshell rich surface look on the painting. So there you go. Varnish your varnish. How about that? It makes sense. I want to do it just because it just feels like it's so precious. Okay, I need a varnish first, and then I need a second varnish. I feel like my painting is already so much more important if I put two varnishes. Um, okay, so I did the first notes here, and I'm just gonna study because this is like feels orange. I just want to study this color. I may need to bring orange here. I don't know. I can make some kind of like an orange. Um, oops, I can make an orange. Okay, value is super dark. I'm gonna bring some ecru. But yeah, I've never heard anyone knowing so much about varnishes ever before. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And it made sense, especially the acrylic surface. Ooh, no, I need, okay, it's time to bring orange on this palette. Time for cadmium orange here. Oops, sorry. I think that's important because the colors are starting to get a little bit too even. I would use the word even. We need orange here. Let me see. Let's just finish this. I'm gonna bring some orange, and again, first notes. I'm studying the color. Oh yeah. Oh, I love it. I love these tiny variations of temperature on a mix. Oh, so beautiful. Okay, so yep, done. Gorgeous. And actually, it's a little bit more colored than the photograph, but I don't mind it. Oh, yeah. So I'm bringing, there's a little bit of white. I started using white in the mixture, and it's not a bad idea. It's like 1 hour in. So, and there's some pink too. I didn't add pink, but I will add it later. I just want to be done with first notes before I start going to second notes, and then really study how much pink there is. And I try to create a structure with the clouds. So making sure that I don't stir the surface too much, because we have a tendency of, oh, they're clouds, so let's kind of like fluff them up. And then we use the brush to fluff them up, and then we end up with just, you know, fog. There's no structure. So yeah, so I don't get in the way of other surfaces that I painted. That's how and remember color blocking, so there's no blending. So technically, this could give us a hint about how to go about this area. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, that's nice. So yeah, I'm okay with it. So I think that's good. As a first notes, let's just do the lighter one. And for the lighter one, I think I'm just gonna bring white actually. And oh yeah, the lighter area will be on the water. That's for sure. And it makes sense to end the first notes with the lightest um, section because we went from darker to lighter. So I think that makes sense. And it's just right here. And I already see lavender here that I haven't seen in other paintings. So just yeah, just take it slow. Don't worry about the process or how long it takes or how complicated it seems, because everything um, by persevering, everything will make sense or starts making sense at some point. I know this is a lot of yellow, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep it like that. The rag is your friend. So I'm just gonna use the rag and then, yeah, I think that's okay. Oh, that's not too bad. All right, so I think I'm gonna be done and I'm gonna use the word finished with first notes. That's it. You know, I just built enough color blocking, I feel, from the staining to this stage. So I think that's a pretty good first notes. All right, before going to second notes, I think Jen, you want to give us the next three things that he wishes he would have known.
Yes, I do. Okay, the next three are let paint dry however it wants, aka don't manipulate drying time. This next one is simplicity is key. And the one after that is the technique isn't more important than the subject.
Oh, seriously.
Mm, you love these three.
Yeah, yeah. So first one, the first one, letting it dry on its own time. He talks about at the very beginning, using gall kits or I would say alkite. Yeah, alkite resins. An alkite resin, it's a medium that could be mixed with oil and paint that accelerates the oxidation of the paint and dries it faster. So at the very beginning, he wanted the oil to dry fast. And he used mediums in order to expedite, I think, the oxidation. So we used gall kit, and we use gall kit because it does make things a little bit easier. But then at some point, the gall kit just dries things too much and too fast. You know, we used to do it like on plein air. We tried it because with plein air and people that are not familiar with painting outside or with the oil, the fact that it dries so fast makes it almost look like it's acrylic. I mean, it doesn't dry as fast as acrylic, but we felt like people would have an easier time if the first layer they did 20 minutes prior already was dry and then they could build on it. But like in everything, there are pros or advantages and disadvantages. I feel we still carry gall kit. I think that still in some specific situations, it's not a bad idea. But he's saying that he wishes he would have actually taken the time to get familiar with the mechanics of oil, because at some point gall kit will feel too forced, too aggressive. And he's just mentioning yeah, letting it let things dry on their own because of that aspect of not forcing anything, just getting familiar with what oil actually does. It's there's always going to be a transitional period, but in the end, you're going to catch on the mechanics of oil faster than if you just rely on a gall kit or an alkite base in order to make oil uh, act like a medium that is not oil, which is eventually it's not the point. And then after that, simplicity, right? I think that's, he talks about how at the beginning he was really confused about what kind of liquids I'm gonna have to work with, and which one is the best the solvent, and do I need the gall kit plus the oil and the medium. So what he's saying is that keep it simple in regards to just, you know, he uses a little bit of like stand oil, which I would never use, but maybe we'll just change to that, who knows. And then just puts a little bit of turpentine to make it uh, dryable, because the stand oil doesn't dry ever, it just gets sticky forever and ever. So adding the solvent just makes sure that when you mix it with paint, it becomes uh, it oxidizes. So keep it simple. Don't, you know, we use the combination of poppy seed because we can't keep it simple. That's possibly that's something that we're gonna learn over time. But I cannot keep it simple. I need to have a little touch of fanciness on my medium. So the poppy seed kind of like makes it more special, and I feel like it's more important. It does something to the medium. It just slows down a little bit. It slows down the oxidation. Poppy seed has a slower oxidating time, so it does help me have the paint wet for a little longer. But in reality, you know, we could just use linseed oil and a little bit of terp, which is toxic, and there are other better liquids to do this. So I like what he says, you know, I wish I would have known that I don't need to force drying, and I don't need to keep it complicated. And then after that, the third one that you mentioned, Jen, I forgot.
The third one
Or it would technically the
yeah.
sixth one.
This one's your favorite. The technique isn't more important than the subject.
Right. Yeah. I think he brings some art history references. I forgot exactly how he develops or articulates the whole idea, but yes, the technique is less important than the subject. Find your voice. I know that that's a lifelong journey. When people say, you know, find your voice, I mean, come on, it's just like saying we need to talk. So it's not the right way of addressing this. But he's saying that the story, the concept, he says the subject. I would go even further. I would say the story. But yes, he felt frustrated because when he started painting with oil, he chose subjects, or rather, you know, subjects were chosen by others that felt very classic and really predictable. And he found them boring, pointless, and he lost motivation or interest. That's never going to happen in Roofless Painters, by the way. So, you know, every week we bring some bonkers subject that it's just bananas. So we're never going to have a boring, dull moment. But with a traditional approach to oil, perhaps if he would choose, I don't know, a white pot, you know, he wasn't motivated. So I think that's an important point. Choose something that you're passionate about, that you really like, that you connect with, that you want to paint, and don't worry about the how that's gonna work out. Don't worry about the craft or the technique or the technical aspects. And with that, we're gonna go. So those are six. The final four, we're just gonna go in a little bit, maybe just a few minutes before we end. But those are great points, and I feel I want to use that list. Yeah, because I think it's a very important list. I don't know how and when we're gonna use it, but I think it's good. Second notes, I'm already using like medium brush. Maybe I'll use too small brush right now. And what are second notes? We talk about pixelation. So that's the word that we associate with second notes. Why? Because with second notes, we are actually diversifying the values and the temperature within the color blocks. So if this was a color block right here, this color block. So what I'm going to go with second notes is I'm going to go inside this color block and create more variations of the color. I know that this is a little bit lighter, for example. There's pink on this area right here. So I need to change this yellow ochre. It's still very much pigmented. So this is when we go in and then with smaller brush strokes, and that's the idea behind choosing pixelation to associate with second notes. I'm not even, I mean, I will blend a little bit, but yeah, the idea is to widen the range. Going back to the area, it's not so much about adding details. Adding details happen by as a consequence of creating variations of colors. So that's what I'm gonna do. Smaller brush and same amount, very little medium actually. First thing that I'm gonna do is I am going to work from darker to lighter. Oh, by the way, second notes, it's really fun because you decide which location you want to tackle first. And actually, I'm going to backtrack and do it right. And by all means, I don't like to use the words right and wrong because it's not correct. But let's do this the traditional way, or let's do this sort of like the smart way. I don't know. I said at the beginning that the point is the concept, the story. So why not during second notes, why not revisit that idea? Again, painting is great because it invites us to have different criterias at the same time. So if we mention that that's the point, so, and now I have a choice of what areas I can develop with second notes. Let me just connect the point of this with the stage of this. And the point is, you know, I mentioned the water that's disappearing, the remains of what it used to be, and now it's almost gone. So why not start with the water? Think that's going to be the point. And I said that that's one of the focal points. So I'm going to choose the water as first, second notes area because I feel like it's the closest to the point of this, whatever that is. We don't have to be specific. So, and that's a white. I need to study that white because I don't think it's titanium because titanium white is so chalky and neutral. So let me just find out exactly. I need to get new brushes, by the way. So, oh no, it's white. It's like really white. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that if we were standing there, it would be fun to go to one of these lakes, Jen, a dry lake. Oh my gosh, imagine. Can we find a dry lake?
Sure we can.
Holy crap.
Which one was Newsom at?
It was like Sonoma County in like Northern California.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm sure we could head east.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've never been to the Salton Sea, but I don't think we could paint there because I heard it smells like rotten fish.
Like sulfur. Yeah.
Or sulfur, yeah.
But gross.
Yeah. Anyhow, so yeah, just see if there's something nearby. Maybe instead of going to Palm Springs, we go to a dry lake. That would be quite
the same.
Say that again?
I said, isn't that the same?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, let's see. Yeah. And anyhow, so yeah, I think that could be an interesting follow-up to find something that we don't associate with plein air painting or yeah. Oh, so we talked about how we are in the process. It says it's going to sound very formal. And we actually talked about it a little bit with Chloe and also Dan. We're in the process of rewriting our roofless articles. Okay, so the core of our identity. And it's just not easy. Let's put it this way. It's not easy. But there's a word that keeps the universe keeps throwing at us, and we actually already changed the bio on Instagram and also on Clubhouse, and we're using that word. And the word, 'cause, I feel like, the word plein air, it has a very specific association with, it's not the word in itself. It's a beautiful word, but it has a very specific association that in current times it's very much attached to colonial history. The word plein air, it's very Eurocentric and coming from a very specific empire, let's put it this way. So since it's our job to decolonize things in order to make change, I mean, here I'm talking nonsense. I feel like, there are other words, and we should just rely on other words. Let's put it this way. I think it's important. So we keep hearing the word free range, and we had a good laugh yesterday because when someone says free range, I told Chloe, "What do you think?" And she said, "Eggs."
Me too.
Right? Free range
Yeah.
eggs.
Yeah, the good kind.
Yes, right. But now people, I mean, again, with this idea, we have to stay abreast. I'm sorry, yes, lowest, because things are moving fast under our feet. Make no mistake, every day the things are shifting. So people are using the word free range to many fields. One of the most typical, which I am also personally very interested in, they use it in parenting and in education. It's not a new term. Obviously, in education, there are many models that are based on free range education. That's something that has been, especially in California, I would say, this traditionally and historically has been a state that has been on the forefront of trying new educational models throughout the 20th century, if you ask me. And California has always been a reference for education in general. When I studied pedagogy in university, most of the educational movements that we discussed or talked about, they had their origin in California in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s. And so it's very interesting. But anyhow, free range parents, free range kids, free range education, it's something that keeps popping up. And I love that idea. If you look at the definition of what that really means, it's beautiful. So I feel like when we are free range painters, we are free range painting. We choose where we want to be, and there's a sense of being spread out, just like chickens, if you will. But I just feel it's a beautiful expression that feels new and better than plein air. I don't know. There's something about free range painting that I think it's really cool. If you Google, by the way, Jen, we need to register this expression because there's nothing like it. And when you Google free range paintings, they're paintings of barns with roosters or chickens.
I'm doing it right now.
Free range painting. Check free range painting, and you're gonna see
all barns and chickens. Yeah. Oh, God.
But no, that's precisely what we do. We are a free range art school and gallery, you guys. So I think that's our first article, new article, defined a little bit in a few words of who we are. So I'm gonna just check the rest of the water. And I just forgot exactly. Oh yeah, just gonna change. Yeah, that's beautiful. I just forgot where this was coming from, but I'll remember. I always remember. Anyhow. Oh yeah, just like the whole idea of maybe just finding a lake, a dry lake, and then just going there.
Okay, I found some. So one of them is in San Bernardino, which I don't think is too far.
No,
It's called Bristol Lake. Doesn't that sound kind of familiar? Bristol Lake?
Bristol,
Mm,
like Bristol Farms, the grocery store.
yeah.
Bristol Lake.
Yes,
Ooh,
yeah, spelled the same. Yeah. San Bernardino County, a shore length of 43 miles, has a unique salt and mineral formations that give the impression there is a layer of snow in some parts of the lake bed. It looks pretty cool.
wow.
And then let's see, another one.
So that like geologically there's never been water there, or is it like a natural state?
Let's see.
Oh, yeah, I'm really curious. No, I'm just like, I'm not antagonizing, hopefully, um, because I think it would be really interesting to find an arid area, regardless if it's affected by the drought or not. Thing that,
Oh, okay. I don't know. So I'm not sure. Okay, so it says the formations were possibly formed out of magma chambers below the crust. The dry lake bed is best known for its salt edged, crystal clear, bright light blue water ponds and channels.
wow, that sounds pretty interesting if you ask me.
Oh, but it does say that it can take up to 4 hours from Los Angeles.
Four
Okay,
hours?
yeah, let's keep looking. Okay,
4 hours? Really?
Soda Lake. Oh, Julie's saying Lake Castillas up here in Ojai is down by half
Oh, by hand.
and the level lost.
Okay, yeah.
Right? That Ojai's definitely closer.
Okay, let's just check it out. Lake Casitas. I've never heard of that lake before either. Um, down by 50 by half. All right. Well, maybe well, we're gonna have I don't know if you're gonna stay for critique time, Julie, but we would love to ask you accessibility, view, if there's a recreational area perhaps, or parking situation, and if it's actually visible, the decrease. Because I feel like what's important here is to find a body of water that has been profoundly affected. I mean, every body of water, I'm pretty sure, has been definitely affected, or is currently being affected by this. But it would be interesting. Okay, well, that sounds good. And it's closer to us. Okay, so my focus on the painting is on the water. So I'm doing second notes. I feel like that's going to be my work today, just working second notes on the water. All these amazing spaces. My gosh, I just feel like we need to get out more. So many things around us that I have no idea about. I think that's it. Let's just find a lake, you guys, and go. Um, I think that would be good. Desert X, by the way, kind of like gave up on us, it sounds. We'll talk about it later, but it was an interesting exchange of emails yesterday. So I'm not sure if that's going to work out. All right, I'm just doing second notes around around the water, and I'm really having a lot of fun. Not just because I see that the painting is moving forward, but also because I feel a sense of satisfaction connecting the initial thought of concept and story with my decision and choice to start second notes there. So I feel like that's my biggest take and departure, if I may say, with this specific painting. Every painting um, provides always something new every single time, something I can carry um, forward with other pieces. Um, it just makes me very happy when those things happen. So I think that's what I take from this moving forward. I'm gonna use a smaller brush, and I'm just gonna. How about Jen? How about we do the last four? Um, the last four wish I would know before jumping onto oil painting.
Okay. The next one is study with subjects that motivate you. And then after that is cover the surface first, think later. After that, prioritize fun and don't worry. And then the last one is you can't paint like someone else.
Okay, so study. Yeah, I think I can just do a quick recap. I remember now the conversations, but one thing that I think I confused is uh, create or study things or use things that motivate you. Because I feel like I checked when I said earlier, you know, that he was very bored with classical um, still lifes. I think I wasn't thinking about the other parts of the list. But yeah, I think we could just keep the one before as concept versus craft, and then talk about how it's important to paint things that you want to paint, that excite you, that you feel like they motivate you and you want to do them. Because if you become too rigorous in the choice of your subject, it's just going to feel boring. And if you have problems with the painting and the painting's taking too long, that's how people give up painting altogether. Trust me, I think I could totally see when people just give up painting, because you know, unless there are certain things that are really addressed or they're facilitated, it's just really painful and boring and frustrating. And you know, people don't have the patience for it, and then just give up, and then they do something else. I personally am biased. I think it's a missed opportunity because, unfortunately, you know, um, some people maybe make it boring, or art education or art instruction is classical art instruction is like too boring. I don't know, but yeah. Um, so yeah, cover the area first. So we talk about this all the time when we do the wash. Actually, sometimes we say some people don't cover the entire area because, you know, they start with one area and they continue working around the area. And we always say that almost from a um, psychological point of view and emotional point of view, it's good to get rid of the pristine blank canvas and then already feel like, you know, you have a really good base. So he's saying that he wishes that someone would have told him to actually start covering the entire space at the very beginning and not leave blanks, because blanks can really um, affect your decision making process and make it really tedious and boring. You know, you're doing a portrait and you spend 2 hours on the face and the rest is all sketch. You'll never finish that painting, number one. Not that paintings are always are ever finished, but you'll feel like that's a lost case. You know, you'll feel like you don't want to do that anymore. It's not fun anymore. It's not exciting anymore. So I think that's a really good point for someone who starts painting oil. Don't worry about making things perfect at the very beginning. And then he jumps onto the ninth area, prioritize fun. Again, I would say that's a big one, because I feel like sometimes technique takes over and the process is slow, and we need a transition time between what we think we know about painting and actually oil painting. It just becomes boring, long, challenging. We feel like crap about the work. You need some support. You need some um, voice that tells you don't give up now, this is very good, and break it down. This is what we try to do actually uh, with every single session, because it could feel like you're speaking of arid areas. It could feel like you're in the middle of a desert when you are being thrown into an oil painting and then you don't have anyone that holds your hand. So making it fun, making it lighter and not being too serious about it just could help you tremendously. And the final one, you can paint like someone else. Okay, so it made me chuckle because he brings up the example of John Singer Sargent. John Singer Sargent would do 3 brushstrokes and a tea set would appear on the canvas, full with napkins and teaspoons.
I love it.
Right? It's just ridiculous. So trying to look at that and say, I want to paint like John Singer Sargent, it's might as well just jump in the pits of hell, because it'll probably be easier to do that. So sometimes we get fascinated by these artists and how they paint. And mind you, I think we will continue to bring these examples because they are inspirational. And again, it's all about taking what we need and not trying to replicate. But when the emphasis is on trying to paint like someone else, we're going to hit a huge wall. It's just not going to happen. We paint like ourselves and no one else paints like us. We just need to continue elevating our work and bringing new elements in. And as I said before, education is an ongoing process. Same thing with painting practice. Every painting will provide a golden nugget of experience and knowledge that's going to feel fresh and amazing. And it's going to want you go to the next painting and see what you can discover underneath that experience. It's just like such a beautiful journey from painting to painting. But trying too hard to paint like someone else or being too focused on, unless I paint like John Singer Sargent, I'm not going to call myself a painter. Obviously, it's not the right approach. And for someone who starts with oil, and when you see these paintings and then you do a wash, you feel like crap because you think what you've done, it's worse than it's worse than whatever disgusting body solid you may think of. Waste. Sorry, it's kind of like forget about the grammar. But the whole point, you can paint like someone else. You better make peace with that statement. The earlier you make peace with that statement, you cannot, because sometimes we get triggered by the words cannot. And I like to stir the pot by saying it sometimes to poke. You cannot paint like someone else. You can't intellectualize, argue this. You cannot, sometimes I like those memes that say something really provocative and strong. And then it's a dude. I mean, I have to say that because it's very, I would say, very male. I don't know. Anyhow, so there's always a guy sitting on a foldable chair with his arms crossed. And then next there's an empty chair, and then there's a sign on the ground, or he's holding a sign and says, you can't blank, something like that. And then at the end it says, change my mind. And then they take a picture. So I've seen a few of those and it's hilarious. And it's meant to be provocative. Well, anyhow, using the powers of visualization that we introduce, imagine me sitting on a foldable chair and saying, you can't paint like someone else, change my mind. So anyhow, that's the end of that. And thanks, Jen, for these 10 points. I think they're really useful. What do you think?
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, so much overlap into, the basics of what we talk about. But it's also, it just goes to show, that this stuff is universal. It's not just our experience, that cutie pies in France are going through the same thing. And
Yeah, that was
in France, they're going through a similar drought too,
yeah,
because this could be New Mexico, California, or France.
right. Obviously. Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah. Um, yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And yeah, I have 5 minutes. So perfect timing actually to sort of like discuss. I think I'm going to continue with second notes, but yeah, I'm going to continue with second notes. So this is a little bit grayer. So I need to narrow this. So with second notes, obviously the drawing aspect, I think we talked about this earlier or before or many times, it never stops. So I feel like I need to lower or narrow this. I need to blend maybe with a clean brush because I feel like this needs to be blurry. So I am only, what I'm doing right now, it's going over these areas and trying to add brush strokes that I feel, would create a change on the painting that I feel like the painting doesn't have. So that's currently what I'm doing right now. Um, uh, yeah, I'm so glad we went over this. This was so good. I feel like it was such a great way of talking about really important things, I believe. Yeah. So, how is your search of lakes, whether it's Casita Lake or anything? Did you continue, or did you find any piece of information, Jen?
Yes, I found,
Oh my gosh.
it says, now this article is from 2017, so I'm sure there's more. Um, but it says, I'm sorry, just opening it again. 6 dry lakes in California you should visit. So yeah, Bristol Lake was the first one we talked about. Next one is Soda Lake, and that's in San Luis Obispo County. The next one is Searles Lake, and that is in the Mojave Desert, about a 3-hour drive from LA, it says. Um, okay. And then Rogers Dry Lake, that's 2.5 from LA, and it's in Kern County. It actually looks like it's a National Historic Landmark.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is Il Mirage Lake.
Ooh. Sounds fancy.
I know, right? Um, let's see if there's anything interesting that says about it. This space is also a favorite location for photo shoots for cars, models, or even furniture due to the artistic desert setting. Oh, how funny. That's in San Bernardino.
How far is it?
Oh, I mean, it says access to the place can be found through Palmdale's Pear Blossom Highway. So it's about a 2-hour drive from LA. That's not bad.
That's not bad.
And then Owens Lake.
Ooh.
It says, this is what it says: drained alive by the Los Angeles Aqueduct.
Oh my gosh.
Located, I know, does that sound really, really?
Wow. That
Um,
that sounds interesting in terms of like maybe conceptually the fact that it's been
mhm.
artificially affected by whatever water wars.
Yeah, that's 3.5 hours from LA.
Ooh.
This once pristine land with an approximate area of 108 square miles began its decay in 1913 when the uncontainable urban sprawl of Los Angeles began channelized when the uncontainable urban sprawl of Los Angeles began channelized, that's not correct grammar, I don't know what they're trying to say, the lake's water, pumping the lake's content all the way across the Southern California landscape. By 1926, Owens Lake was no more.
Oh, whoa.
13 years later,
Jesus.
some of the flow has been restored. However, there are concerns regarding air pollution originating from the dry portions of the basin, also known as alkali dust.
Oh,
Agree.
wow.
The lake has been featured in many documentaries and short films rooted in water, drought, urbanization, and global warming.
Ooh.
Efforts, Edward Bertaninsky's Watermark documentary provides a unique look of the situation from the environmental photography point of view. Many institutions and professionals, including myself, have been involved in envisioning plan work at the site.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, Jen, I think we need to sort of like send me any of these things or um, because I feel like I think that's what we're gonna do. That's it. Decided today. I think that sounds really like a cool destination for many reasons, not just because we did this today, but I feel like I'm so curious actually.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
sure.
So perfect timing actually. Let's just reconvene. Let's take a 10-minute break. So it's 1:06. So 1:16. Finish your last brush strokes. Take a picture. It doesn't matter if you just did one line. Just we would love to see your painting and then or process or you haven't done anything, of course not. But and don't feel obligated either. But 1:16. I'm gonna stop the recording and then we'll have a conversation after. And if you have any notes, any questions, anything that triggered you or you wanted to build on, we can't wait to hear if you want to, what you have to say. All right, 1:16. Bye.